Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Do you sometimes struggle to know how to approach difficult paintings? Do you have a difficult reference photo that you are not sure what to do with? In today's video, I'm going to show you how I painted this recent cat commission, which was extremely difficult to do, and show you how I broke down my process so I achieved the painting that I wanted. As this was a commission, I cannot show you the reference photo I used. However, there are some simple issues that made this a hard painting. Number one, I have a very similar value range. If I turn this painting into black and white, you'll see what I mean. It's pretty much a middle value painting. Number two, the colours in the cat's coat are quite similar. Apart from a few oranges, I'm going to have to paint this in neutrals. Number three, I have subtle temperature shifts across the coat, and they are really hard to see in the reference photo. Number four, the texture and the pattern of the fur is a bit of a nightmare. The cat is long-haired, and the pattern on the coat means I have colour changes, temperature shifts, and value changes in one stroke. Before I even start, I know I have a difficult painting in front of me. So what can I do to ensure I get the painting I want? Be prepared. This sounds like a really obvious thing, but before I even start, I prepare myself mentally that it's going to be hard, that it will probably take me longer than usual, and I will probably struggle with it in parts. Just putting yourself in the right frame of mind can be really helpful for focus. I know I am going to have to really concentrate. For example, you'll see after my second sitting, I wasn't happy with the direction the painting was going. At this stage, I knew I had too much paint in this area here, and I felt I was losing the cat's expression, so I took the paint off. This was a very easy decision to make. Had I not been prepared for the struggle, I may have been a bit more reluctant to take the paint off and start again. I probably would have stuck with it in the hope I could make it work. Do a rough underpainting. This is how the painting looked after my first sitting. It's very loose and rough. It acts as a bit of a template to help guide me in the second part of the painting. My paint is very thin and sketchy at this point. I'm concentrating on getting the main features of the cat in, the rough pattern on the coat, the average values and temperature shifts. This underpainting gives me an opportunity to try and work out what I think my palette will be. I do not use any medium at this stage of the painting. This ensures that I am able to paint on top of this sketch the next day. If it is very wet and slippery with medium, it makes it harder to paint over wet on wet, and you are more likely to lose control of your painting. If you want to let this underpainting dry before you proceed to the overpainting, that is fine too. My palette. Get to know the colours on your palette. I would recommend picking a selection of colours and then paint with them regularly. This will help you understand what mixes you make. The more you vary your palette, the harder it will be to do a painting like this, as you will be unfamiliar with your mixes. I tend to have the following colours on my palette: cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre light, transparent yellow oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, ultramarine deep and titanium zinc white. However, I would say the most important colours on my palette are yellow ochre light, cadmium red, ultramarine deep and titanium zinc white. I could paint the majority of my commissions with just these colours. You can also paint portrait work with these colours too. I add the additional colours for speed, but sometimes it can hinder me as it does give me too much choice. For this painting, I also added transparent brown oxide. The most important thing to understand is what are the warm colours on your palette and what are the cool colours. Just remember, red is the warmest colour on the colour wheel, blue is the coolest. As colours move away from red, they get cooler. Yellow is a warm colour, but it is not as warm as orange, so always bear in mind colour is relative to what is placed next to it. You also need to know what value your colour is. For example, adding yellow ochre light to a purple will lighten it, whereas adding purple to yellow ochre light will darken it. Adding white to any colour will both lighten it and cool it down. So understanding how my palette works is very important for this painting because I'm going to have to mix up some very subtle colours. Seeing colour. This can be very hard, but there are a couple of tools I use to help me. Where I am dealing with mid-value colours or darker colours, I will hold a grey card up to my reference photo. I then ask myself, am I seeing yellow, red or blue? If I am seeing red, it can only be red, red-orange or red-purple. If I am seeing yellow, it can only be yellow, yellow-green or yellow-orange. If I am seeing blue, it can only be blue, blue-purple or blue-green. Neutrals like brown and grey work exactly the same and they can be easily mixed, mixing complementary colours together for brown and adding white to these mixes for grey. All neutrals have colour in them and your grey card will tell you which colour way your neutral is leaning. So here I am seeing more of a green-brown and here more of a red-brown, here more of an orange-brown and here more of a yellow-brown. If I have a light value, I will hold up a white card to my reference photo and ask myself the same question. Am I seeing red, yellow or blue? If the colour is still not clear, I mix up the colour I think I'm seeing and paint it onto the corner of a white card. I then hold it up to my reference photo to see how near I am to the reference photo colour. I then adjust it if necessary. What to paint first? I always start with the areas I think are the most obvious in terms of colour and value. I use these as my anchor points. So here, the eyes, nose and ears. I then use these anchor points and try to bridge across to them, working through the areas I'm not sure about. This was the last area I painted because it was so hard. My warm colours merged into my cool colours. My shorter haired fur became longer fur. I had pretty much zero value changes, so it was very hard to paint. Consequently, I left it until last. Because I had my other areas all blocked in, it made seeing the colour slightly easier than if I had attempted it first. What brushes? My brushes are important. Where I am painting shorter fur, I use these short-haired, flat synthetic brushes. I find them very good for being expressive. You can flick the paint around quite forcefully. They are good for getting sharp edges if necessary. Where I want a softer effect, I use these long-haired comber brushes. They allow you to paint wet on wet and drag colour into each other more easily. Where I am trying to create this soft fur effect, I use a small amount of medium, but I wouldn't use it in the short-haired fur areas. To recap then, when dealing with difficult paintings, prepare yourself mentally, do a rough underpainting, understand your palette, use a grey or white card to help you see colour, paint the obvious areas first, use the correct brushes. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.